Hi, everybody, and welcome to Skylum's Luminar webinar with Matthew Jordan Smith, How to Take Your Portraits from Zero to Hero. And this is a really unique opportunity. Matthew is an amazing portrait photographer, and we'll get the opportunity to hear how he thinks when he's creating an image and composing that image, and then, of course, developing that image. And his work speaks for himself, and so does Matthew. So I'm going to hand it off to Matthew to tell us a little bit about himself and teach us a thing or two or three. Matthew?
Sounds good. How you guys doing? I hope wherever you are in the world, you're having a great day, or maybe it's a great evening. I am coming from Tokyo, and I just want to tell you guys I love photography. So we're going to dive in today right away to how to take your portraits from zero to hero. First and foremost, go to make sure everything is working perfectly. Thank you for coming today. First and foremost, I want to thank you for giving me your time. I promise you, I'm going to use every moment to help you get to the next level in your photography. I am a commercial photographer. I shoot portraits, and I'm known for photographing celebrities, but I've done a lot more than that. It's funny, in your photography career, you do get labeled for doing one thing, but of course we love doing everything, right? That's just how it is in the life of being a photographer. But it's opened doors for me, and it can open doors for you. I'm also a Nikon ambassador, or for those who are outside of America, a Nikon ambassador if you're in America, and then outside of America, a Nikon ambassador. You may have also seen my work on America's Next Top Model. I've been on the show about 6 or 7 times as either a guest photographer or guest judge. And I'm also an author. I have 3 books out. This is my first book and my current book, Future American President. Now, what's funny about all of this, and maybe some of you are experiencing this, at every point in my career, I had to fight through my fear. Maybe you're having fear about trying to take your photography from being a hobby to a full-time profession. Maybe you have a fear of even getting started. Can you do it as a career? Or you've been doing it for a long time and you're not sure how you get to that next level. That fear is real. I understand that because I've gone through that my entire career about everything I've done. But once you go out on a limb, you usually get the fruit. I'm also the host of the podcast, Master Your Lens, which comes out every Wednesday as well. But more than anything, I love speaking about the joy of photography. There's nothing that feels better than sharing it, which is why I'm here today, to help you guys get to the next level in your photography. And from time to time, when I'm not shooting, I'm also teaching photography, a workshop. This is a workshop I did last year in Tokyo, which is now my hometown. And I just love meeting other photographers and sharing the process, which is what we're going to do today. Now, we have an hour today, but I love this, helping you get to that next level in your photography. So hopefully you all love photography as much as I do. It's in my blood. The days when I'm not shooting are not as great as days when I am shooting. I know you know that feeling, right? Whether you shoot portraits or you love shooting birds. I've got tons of friends who love shooting birds, and sometimes I'll go out with them and feel that experience. Now, it's not normal for me, but I will say this day I was amazed and say, wow, okay, now I kind of get it. If you shoot sports, I know we have the Olympics going on right now in South Korea. I've been tuned in every day. Hopefully you have been as well. Or you enjoy shooting wildlife, whatever your passion is. I hope you are shooting all the time and pushing yourself to get to that next level. Maybe you shoot weddings. I know many of my friends out there who are shooting weddings. I'll be going to Vegas in a few days to the WPPI convention. There'll be tons of wedding photographers there. So hopefully I'll see you at this Skylum booth. Whatever you love photographing, I'm glad you're here today. Now, let me start with my beginning. In the beginning for me, I fell in love with photography when my father gave me a camera. It opened the doors for me. Everything changed. I'm known now basically for photographing women, and I do love that a lot. As a matter of fact, I did that yesterday and the day before. But I'm also known for photographing men as well. Not as much, but I do photograph men as well. Photography can be fun for any of you if you just follow a few steps. I know there are people today who feel frustrated with photography because they're not sure what to do, how to do it, and how to make it fun again. I want to get you back to fun in your photography. Today, I have one goal, and that is to be your bridge to take you from where you are right now, wherever you are in your career, to where you want to be. By the end today, I hope you're ready to create amazing images. Normally, when I'm speaking somewhere in public, the whole crowd is excited at the very end. And sometimes I get these weird reactions like this guy, which was like a year ago. But I love photography. And I know many of you who are listening right now love it as well. So here's my promise to you. Everything I'm going to teach you today is 100% doable. If I can do it, you can do it. It doesn't matter where you are in the world or in America or wherever you are, you can do this. Now, the first thing you must understand about photography, the first thing you must understand about photography, it's all about light. Now, today, anybody can take a great picture. Cameras are getting better and better and better. But today in photography, you need a competitive advantage. It is so important that we all have an advantage in our photography. And that advantage is lighting. Lighting gives you an amazing advantage today. Let's think about that. Today, there are billions of people taking pictures, even today, all over the world. Many of them using a smartphone, or they've just bought an entry-level camera. And the camera's doing a lot for them. But you must understand the power of light to make your pictures look different and special. Lighting is what sets you apart from other photographers. It is a game changer. As a matter of fact, I'll even say that if it wasn't for me learning about light, of course, in photography as well, I would not have a career. Again, the first thing you must understand is you must be able to see light. Before you can use it in your photography, you've got to be able to see light, whether you're shooting outside with natural light or you're working in studio, you must be able first and foremost to see light. Now, it sounds simple, but at the start of my career, it was the hardest thing to do, to be able to see light and all those small nuances. Once you train your eye to see in a special way, it helps you in every part of your photography. That said, let me show you versus just telling you. Let's go through a little light exercise, and you guys can follow along with this. Now, this exercise is really to help you learn how to see because we all take that for granted today. We think, oh, yeah, we're seeing light all the time, right? In photography, it's a different thing. So let's go through our light exercise right now. Taking a good look at this image, is this picture shot with natural light? And by natural light, I mean the sunlight. Is it shot with natural light or is it shot with artificial light? Artificial light being any type of light like either a strobe or any other type of constant light. What is this image shot with? Now, as you're looking at this, I want you to think about everything. Think about the light, think about the shadows, think about the difference, all of that. And then also think about this. Everything we learn about light, we do learn from the sun. You learn how to see by studying the sun and how it works. And then you go in the studio and you create it. Now, this image is artificial light. I'm going to go back just for a second so you can see that again. This image is shot with artificial light. Now, it's a constant light source, but even the idea about how to create this image is done by just observing light outside. I was actually outside on the beach in Southern California, and a person was backlit by the sun. I'm like, this is really beautiful. I can do this in studio. So I had to figure out how to do it, and that's what I did. So the main light, which is normally in front of the person when you're doing a portrait, is not this time. The main light is behind her, the same way the sun is when you are on a beach anywhere in the world and you're backlit. It's beautiful. So my main light is behind my subject, my model, and in front, you'll see actually me in her eyes. I have big 4x8 V flats. I actually have two V flats put together, and the light's bouncing into those V flats and coming back into her eyes. That's how this is shot. The same way the sun gives you that beautiful light on a beach and it's backlit. Everything you learn about light, you learn by studying the sun. Okay, you now know that that one's done with artificial light. So let's move on and continue this light training exercise. Take a good look at this shot. This is actually RuPaul shot for my first book, actually. Is this image shot with natural light or artificial light? Same question. Again, taking a good look at everything now, because now you're starting to see light in a different way. Hopefully you're now seeing light and you're analyzing light in a different way and discovering how it makes your portraits better. You're now beyond zero with your portraits. You're now starting to see light and the power that it has to really enhance your images. So this image is also shot with natural light. Again, this is natural light. Now we're in studio, but we had this big bank of windows, and I had brought strobes this day. I'm like, okay, this is nice light, but let me just use this natural light. So beautiful. Now, this was actually years ago. And if I was doing this today, I probably would do it a very different way because there's also something really powerful about light that's today more important than ever before. It's more important today because we need to have a real advantage that you didn't have to have before. Back in the film days, it was harder to get into photography. Today, it's very easy. So you have to change and adapt and use light to your advantage the way you never did before. So that shot was done with natural light. Let's go a little harder now, though. How is this image shot? Is it natural light or artificial light? Now, you've just seen three different types of images. I'll answer in a second, but you've just seen three different types of images, three different types of light. Three different types of light. Now, when you study sun, you're going to learn something really amazing that most people don't talk about in schools. As a matter of fact, I went to photography school and never learned this at all. I didn't learn it until I left art school and went to New York and worked as a photo assistant. That was my real training in photography. And that's where I learned there are three types of light: soft light, medium light, and hard light. And what's so incredible about this, each one of those types of light has a feeling associated with it. Now, this is profound information because just think about what that does to your photography. If you have the ability to make your subject feel something. Now, they won't let you know they're feeling something. It's just natural, and people react to your images. Once you learn that power, you are on fire to open up doors and make people feel something based on your images. Now, this light, it's shot with the natural sunlight, but I'm always doing this shot in studio. I love this feeling of light. So in studio, I'm always recreating this exact type of light. I love it. The hard light, the shadows, the feeling associated with it. Once you pay attention to the sun and learn all the different types of light, you can use that to your advantage. Now, with shooting natural light, you're only with the sun, you're only at the whim of what the sun does and the weather that day. Maybe you're in Seattle and it's raining all the time, or it's cloudy, or you're in the UK and you don't get a lot of sun all the time. When you use light to your advantage, you can make it on any day. It doesn't matter what the weather is. Once you learn how to use light, you can really take it and tweak it and make your portraits come to life. Again, that's shot with natural light. Now, hopefully, you are now seeing light differently. And more importantly, now you're thinking about light differently and all the options it does for you. It can change things. In many ways, it can be a game changer. If it wasn't for learning this valuable information at the beginning of my career, I would not have a career. But now this is my 31st year working as a commercial photographer, and it's all I've ever done in my life, photography. Once you learn how to create light, you can go anywhere. Today, my clients are calling on me to do all types of light situations. Like for this ad for Olay, my client wanted to create sun. So everything you're seeing, we had to create. The light is feeling like sun. The shadows, they're all put there. All of that is just us recreating the feeling of the sun along with the shadows and how it feels at a certain time of day. Now, before a client is going to hire you to do this, they must know by looking at your portfolio or your body of work that you can do it. And also, when they're looking at your work, they're not just looking at one picture. They look at your entire body of work, and it must be consistent. So think about that. If you're outside and you're only using natural light, you only get what the sun gives you. To be a professional and really make more money, have a great living, you've got to have real control, because your clients may want you to shoot a feeling where it's beautiful sunlight and that sunset feeling, but you have 10 days of rain. What do? The client's not going to wait. You got to be able to create that feeling, that look. And that's what I've done my entire career. And I love it. So normally it's like this. We're in studio, we're working, we're putting sets together, but I'm going still to create a feeling no matter what the day is that makes my clients come to life, makes my client who's hiring me feel like, okay, this is the feeling I want. Now, when they hire me, usually they're not thinking about the feeling that light brings. They just want their product to come to life. Going back here, my client wanted the product to come to life, but this feeling of light does make everybody feel a certain way. And nobody's going to know this except for you, the photographer. This is one of your advantages as a photographer. You're thinking differently than the average person about light. It's not just about the camera doing everything for you. It's about you taking control of how people feel based on your knowledge of photography and light and putting that all together. That way, clients will hire you all the time to do all types of assignments. Now, I was born in New York. I grew up in South Carolina, went back to New York to start my career, and now I live in Tokyo. Photography has taken me everywhere. So when I tell you this works, it works all over the world. Today, clients hire me to go anywhere, everywhere. I go back and forth to the States like sometimes once a month, sometimes once every 2 months to do what I love, photography. Anything is possible if you just follow the steps. All right, now let's continue this with a photography lesson. I don't want you to guess with your photography. And again, today, this is more important than ever before, because there are many people who are guessing, and they're guessing by taking a picture and looking at the back of their camera and letting that image on the back dictate if it's a correct image or not. Now, that gets you in the ballpark, yes, but this is not the best way. The best way is definitely to use a light meter. Now, I know it's not popular today. Uh, Many people are looking at the back of their cameras or they're looking at their histograms, and that does get you in the ballpark, but it's not enough information. And the other thing that this light meter does that the other things don't do, like looking at the back of your camera or looking at the histograms, it doesn't teach you about light and how light works. What a meter does, it's going to give you information to help you make a better decision. Also, it's going to train you about light and how it works. You learn exactly where the light is and where it falls off. Again, today, if you want to have real success in photography with your portraits, you want to go from zero to hero, you must learn to be exact, to have your fingerprint with light. Now, you're probably wondering, Matthew, why do I need a light meter? I get that. It teaches you about light. You learn how light works. Now, we see this in reality. We see a backlit situation, but our eyes in reality compensate for that. You learn how light works when you use a light meter. Now, can you look at the back of your camera and get this image? Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. You can go and just figure it out by guessing your way through it. But when you have a client who loves your picture that you've just created and they want you to recreate that, how will you do it? Because that's what happens. Clients see your work, they love it, and they want you to do that same thing over again. If you know exactly how the light works and understand all the variables of how to get backlit, how to get three quarters, how to get Rembrandt light, how to get short light, broad light, all these standards, you can go way beyond that and create your own special look to your photography. So clients come to you. And also, once you had this advantage, you're not lowering your prices like everyone else, going lower and lower and lower. You can go the other way and raise your prices. As a matter of fact, you can be the most expensive photographer in your neighborhood and work more than everybody else who's lowering their prices. That's the advantage that having a specific look to your work gives you. Now, light meters and learning about light, it helps you have a consistent exposure. Now, yes, you can get that by looking at your histograms for sure in your back of your camera, but it's not totally consistent. When your clients look at your body of work, is it consistent? Not just one picture, but every picture. Is it spot on? A light meter and you knowing about light in your portraits makes you a better photography. You get a consistent exposure. You get a consistent style because now you are understanding about light. You know exactly what you want. You're not just doing what everybody else does. You have your own specific look to your work. It becomes your fingerprint with your photography and it opens doors. And the other side of this is you get consistent clients. They come back to you over and over and over again. This is the Vanessa Williams, who I've been shooting since the 90s. And I've worked for her easily in my career, easily 20, 30 times. And this is not just with Vanessa. This is for many clients like Oprah, Vanessa, Tyra, Martha Stewart. I've worked with these clients over and over and over again over the decades. Aretha Franklin. And many of these clients, even as I live in Tokyo, will fly me back to do another. I talked yesterday to a client who wants me to shoot her sometime in March, and I'll fly back to the States to do that photo shoot. Now, there are millions of photographers in America. Why would a client want me specifically? They trust you with their image. They will come back to you over and over and over again. That's a trust that they have once they love your images. Because think about it, it's not just a picture. They are trusting you with their most precious thing, their image. On some high end clients, that's all you'll ever see. You may never even meet them in person. You'll just see their image. Who do they trust to share that image, to create that image? It can be a game changer. And I know hopefully you are now getting this to understand how important these factors are in creating your business, in growing your business. Learning about light, learning how to expose light, learning how to see light is extremely important to the photographer. Okay, let's go into some tips to help you become even better. Take your pictures from zero to hero. Number one, think about your depth of field. I'm very often using shallow depth of field. Not all the time. Like yesterday, I actually shot a job where I was shooting um, more stop down, but very often I'll use shallow depth of field. Now you saw an image earlier where I was doing that, and I'll show it to you again. So here in this image, remember we did the light test where we're talking about light. Now let's look at depth of field. The shallow depth of field does a lot of great things for you. It gives you this illusion of beauty. So I can focus on just my client's eyes and their skin gets softer. Now, with women, I love doing this. I'll focus on just their eyes and everything else goes very soft. It's like an old painting. Your eyes are drawn to that one thing, and everything else is like the subtext where the eye is the main character. That's how important light is and using your depth of field to your advantage. If you're just setting up your lights and you shoot everybody at f16 because your light is just there at that power, you're doing yourself a disservice. Think about your f-stop and where you want to be and what it will give you. If you want to shoot at f8, do it because you want that depth of field. If you want to shoot at f16, do it because you want that depth of field. Now, when I'm shooting men, I will often shoot at a lower depth of field. I want to shoot at f16 or f11 because with a man, I want to see all the texture in their skin. I want them to feel manly. Now, as a rule, there is no rule in photography. You learn the rules and you break them to make your specific look. If you want to shoot men the way I've shot this woman, you definitely could. That could be your brand new look that makes your pictures look very differently. It is very important in photography to learn the rules and then break them, especially if you're doing portraits of celebrities or doing fashion beauty. We love to break the rules. But first, before you can break those rules, you must know the rules. Again, look at the depth of field. I'm focusing on just her eyes and everything else goes soft. Okay, number two, let it flow when you are doing portraits. I very often use a fan or a wind machine to give this motion or this illusion of motion in a picture. Now, here, my model's sitting very still, but just the movement of her hair gives the image a different feeling. I love having a wind machine on set because it does some great things for you. Number one, it pulls the client in, the viewer into the image, and it makes the subject feel amazing also. There's just something about having a fan on a set. Now, I'm bald, I have no hair. But even if somebody's going to photograph me, to have a fan or a wind machine on set, it makes your subjects feel a certain way. If you want beautiful images, if you want powerful images, you have to make your clients feel something as well. Then it comes out in the image. Take a sip of my green tea for a second here. So It's so powerful when you learn how to do this. Let's go further through this now. Let it flow. Use a fan or a wind machine to give energy to your shots. It doesn't matter if they're standing still, like this picture of Tyra. Use that wind machine to give the feeling of motion. Number 3, and this is a big one, master using one light. Master using one light in your pictures. I know very often we want to use 2, 3, and 4 lights because we feel like we're photographers when we have more gear. I get that. I understand that because I felt the same way at the very beginning of my career. But if you first master to use one light and use that one light in as many ways as possible, you'll be surprised how you can open doors. So learn how to use one light and use it differently. Do it as often as possible. Whether you're focusing on just using a softbox or an umbrella or a magnum reflector or whatever your one light that you have, learn to use that one light in as many ways as possible. It will make your images stand out when you work on that, work on it, and work on it. You don't just take a picture, you perfect it. You work on it over and over and over again until you have your recipe of light. Then move in close. I know it sounds simple, but moving in close does something very different that most people take for granted. It makes you feel more intimate, more connected with the picture. So move in close. Use those lenses that help you have a closer, more intimate look with your pictures. Get in there. Use a macro lens. I love using my 105, which it's not a macro lens actually, the one I'm using, but I love that I have the ability to go in tight and close once I work on my pictures at the end. Number 5, drop the pose. I get this question all the time. Matthew, I need some help for pose, but I want you to get away from posing because to me, posing feels like 1960. Allow your subjects to change. Now, we're not living life the way people did in 1960. We are on the move. We're so busy. We can't even make a phone call. We're texting everywhere. We're on the go. Now, life should reflect how it is in your pictures. Drop the pose. Allow your subjects to be able to move and capture it. Our cameras are great today. We can capture a moment, and a moment stands out more than any pose on earth. Get your clients moving, get them feeling something, make them feel good, feel happy, and then capture that moment. Okay, now once you have great portraits, you're ready to move on to the next step. Let's go into deeper how you take your portraits from zero to hero. Let me introduce you to Luminar. Now, you talk about going from zero to hero. Once you have put all this work into learning about your light, learning about how to use your light meter, making your pictures exact, you can now go in and do all of your back end work and make your pictures really come to life. Now, when you first open Luminar, it's going to look like this. You'll come to your screen and you'll hit open image. And I'll show you this in real time in a minute, but I just want to show you quickly the process step by step. You'll open your image, you'll get your picture, and you can go through and enhance it in any way. So you can either open up a raw file or open up a TIFF. I like doing my raw files first, actually. Then I can tweak it. Now you'll have presets in here that do the work for you, or you can do your own enhancement. There are presets and then there's a workspace. We'll go through both of those in real time so you can actually see how it works. In the presets, at the bottom, you can pick anything you want. So say you want to do a fast portrait job, you'll pick the portrait set and you have options at the bottom. Let's say, for example, you want to pick the smooth portrait. You'll go through and you can hit it right away. And it will set right away to 100%. That might be too much for you. You can go back and just take your slider and take it back a little bit. And you can see before and after as well. You can see a before and after view of each of your images as you're working on them. That was the before. This is the after. This is at 100%. But then you can take your slider and just slide it down to 40%, to 70%, whatever you want, where it's just enough for you. Then, of course, you can also go through and make your own adjustments. On the right side, you have all your adjustments. Now, again, I work with a raw file when I'm showing you later on, I'll be showing you a raw file and we're going through and doing our tweaking. Now, you'll also have this panel where you can do all your saturation, vibrance. You can add any filter you want, and you can make a workspace. Now, that might sound a little funny at first, but I'll show you exactly what I mean once we start working through this. I love that you have all these great tools to put at your disposal, because sometimes you just don't know what you need to do. But Skylum has made it easy for us to make our pictures beautiful with just a few clicks, because sometimes you don't want to be there for 45 minutes working on an image. You're going to get in there and just do a few tweaks and make a beautiful image. There's an AI filter, which I absolutely love, artificial intelligence, and it's actually really, really good. So let's go through and look at Luminar in action. Let me now go through and just open up Luminar. So now you're seeing that first screen that I showed you earlier. And let's just open an image. I'm going to try to find a raw file that I want to work with. I'm going to navigate to my desktop. I have some images already set here. I'm going to go through and open up a raw file. Let's start with this one. I think that should be fine. We'll open up a raw file. It's going to read the file. Now, as it's opening, at the top here, you'll see you have a lot of different options. I'll start on the top right here. You'll have, this is your, once the image opens on the far right here, the first one's going to be your histograms. Now, let's talk about that for a second. When you're using your histograms, if you've shot based on the back of your camera, you're going to have to adjust it because it's not correct. If you're using a light meter, you're more in the ballpark, so you have to do all that work. So you'll save time by learning about light. So here we have our first image, and it's shot, actually this is shot yesterday, and this is shot on a black background. I've got my subject here, I got the light, and at the bottom here, we have presets. I'll open this. You'll have presets that are already set for you. Now, this is already done, so you can just go to any of these presets, whether you're shooting landscapes or street photography or outdoors or travel. These are presets made for you already that you can just go to, click on, and get the job done in like 5 seconds. It's really quick and easy. For example, let's say I want to do the portrait set. I have all these sets already done for me. I can go in here and just click any preset, and it's done. Now, I showed you earlier about the slider. So the slider is now at, let me just actually change this to a split screen so you can see before and after. This is the split screen. This is before and after. There's the before, there's the after. I'm gonna take this halfway. I can take this slider down anywhere I want to be. And I actually love this quite a bit. I want to go just a little closer so you can see the detail just a little bit more. There we are. So let's look at this again. I can go anywhere from 100%. There we are at full. I can take it down like 50, 40, 30%. It's totally up to you what feels right to you. Now, normally 100% will be too much, but one small click of your slider and you've gotten a pretty decent image right away. Now let's see, this is before and the after. Before, after. And this is not at 100%. We're now at 70%. I can change that anywhere I want by just taking the slider back and forth. Really wonderful. The presets make your life really cool and easy, and I love working with them. They're great to use. Now, you also have other presets here as well, like the soft glow, or I love this one. This is wonderful as well. You have all these different presets here, the black and white, and it's a different feeling. You decide what you like in terms of the presets. But let's say you want to do something on your own. I'm going to we're now working for a raw file. So here I'll see my raw file, and you'll see that here. I'm using a Nikon, of course. So I have all my information here, my raw file. I'll see how I shot it right under my histograms. You'll see this information down here. I'll turn that off and on. This is toggles that goes off and on. So I'll see how I shot it, my ISO 64, 105 lens, my f-stop. You get all that information right there. If you don't want that, just toggle that off. But I actually like seeing that. Again, your histograms right here, you can toggle that on and off as well. And then layers, all that very simple and easy to use. Also at the top here, if you want to minimize some of these screens, you can do that as well. So you can just see your image only just by toggling on and off. Or if that bottom is in your way and you just want to see just your pure image, you can do that. So let's say you're not going to work with the presets. You want to do your own adjustments. I'm going to toggle that off for a second so we can just see just this screen here. With our raw developer, we can see everything. If you want to change your histograms, you can go and just toggle on and off here. Just get that there. You can play around with that very easily. There we are. Let my screen catch it with me because I have you guys on the line. I don't want you guys to miss anything there. You can change it right here. Now, also, another great key you can do is with your histograms, if you can see this, if you hit your J key, it will tell you your in and out points, which is wonderful. Now, when thinking about your histograms, meters don't think, histograms don't think. It's up to you as a photographer to figure out how you want your image to look. So in the situation where I'm shooting on a black background, I want it to be black. So in this situation, I don't want to open up my shadows too much because it will change my black background where it won't be black. But you as a photographer, you shot it a certain way, you want to look a certain way. So I'll keep it black because that's what I want. So I've used light to separate her from that background. It's slight, but it's there, which is exactly what I want. Now let's go into working with our workspace, which I mentioned to you guys earlier. I'm going to collapse all of my windows here so you can see this here. I hit this filter bar and I can collapse all of my layers here. So now you'll see my raw developer. My raw developer layer is where I can use to tweak anything when I'm developing my image. If I want to add a little more clarity to it, I can, just a tad. And I'm generally not doing a lot. It's always slight, small differences. I know we think we want to just crank things up all the way sometimes, and that can be way too much. Well, for me, I think that's way too much, going to 100%. It's normally around 10, 15%. The subtle changes make a big difference. Little things make a big change. So I'm gonna go back down to my just about 10% on this one. That's all I want in terms of clarity, nothing more than that. Just a tad. And at first you can't see it, but it's just a little bit. Now, if I want to see what I'm doing there, I can just toggle on and off on that layer anytime I want to. Also, I'll close that down for a second. I can add structure as well. All these options are with vignette. We won't add a vignette because I'm a black background. I won't add any vignette to this, but let's just say we want to add to this now. I can go through and start adding any layer. For example, I just click on it and it drops it down here. I can add my AI filter, which is a great filter. It does so much for you. Now, I'll just go through and throw it in there for a second. This is at 100%, which is too much, of course, but it's just a little bit, again, does a lot for you. Just a little bit. Now, to see what that one filter is doing, you can just toggle on the eye icon here on your right, and you'll see. Now, it's very slight, again, but on and off. That's going to show you just what that one filter is doing. If I want to see everything globally, I can go here again to the top and hit the eyeball. This will show me everything being off and on. This is all the filters on and off. Now you're starting to see just a small little difference. And we've just done two things. That's it. Just two small filters. We've done a lot already to make it just a little bit better. And when you're enhancing your images, it should be little by little. And you'll see that small change come in one by one. So now I have my AI in work. I will now close that in. Let's go to add another filter. Now you also have your essential list. You have your AI, your black and white conversion, your saturation, structure, tone, vignette. These are essentials. Then you'll have issue fixes. There are filters under that fix certain issues like clarity and dehaze and denoise. Then you have your creative set of filters as well, like brilliance and dramatic, or you can add fog to an image. You have you have the golden hour. I love the golden hour. You have all these different filters here that can change everything for you. And then you have a professional set as well. This is where you'll get things that are more complex, like channel mixing and loop mapping and photo filter. All this stuff that you may want to go deeper. Oh, or like dodge and burn out, which I love actually quite a bit. Dodge and burn, like being in the dark room where you're dodging and burning, making something lighter or darker. I'll put that one in there for a second there and show you guys that because I actually really love that one quite a bit. Then we have, let's see what else we want to see. If you want to have color temperature, you want to play with your temperature, you can do all that. Your exposure, you have all these options available to you. I'm gonna go back to the essentials for a second. I will throw a vignette on there, even though this is an image on a black background, because I know it's very popular and I think people could get a lot from that. So I'll put that down there. So let's say I want to use this as my set. I can save this and have this as my normal workspace. You have workspaces where you're making your own set, and then you have presets that are made for you. This is done by Luminar to help you get through really fast and just do all the work with just a small tweaks. Or you can have even more control. So what's great about Luminar, it gives you the option to just hit it and go in the presets. And there's some amazing presets in there for you where the work's already done. You just take your slider and go where you want to. Or you can have your own control. You can use any workspace. You can make your own like I'm doing now, or you can hit here to custom workspaces and you have workspaces already set for you based on what we think you should use. So if you want to shoot street photography, there's a set of filters already set for you let me just close all this down so you can see all these filters. Collapse that. All these filters are what you'll need for street photography. Now you can change any of these if you want to, just by adding another filter and make your own version of your workspace. But this workspace is for you to start tweaking. Now, they're all just the filters there for you to make your own look. Let's say you want to do aerial photography. Of course, I'm not doing aerial photography. You want to do anything quick and awesome. It's actually a great workspace as well. Let me just show you that one for a second. Let's go there. I'm going to collapse them down so you can see all those. It's quick and easy, just like it says. Just a few, your intelligent AI filter, your saturation, and your clarity. Very quick and simple, just to get you right there and make the image work. You can also go through, so we're doing a portrait. So let's look at that one. And I love this one. This is just a set of, I'm going to collapse all these again for you. So you can see all these filters. Here you'll have everything that we think you need to make a great portrait. It's already set and put together for you. All you've got to do is go in there and do your tweaking and adjustments. Now, if I want to work with this set, I'm doing a portrait. Let's say I want to use this. I can go in and say, okay, I don't want to use a vignette, so I can just hit this X here, and it will take it out of my group of filters. Let's say, okay, I think I want to keep everything here except for, well, for me, I'm not going to use the loop mapping. If you're doing weddings, maybe you might want to do that. But for me, I'm usually doing like one image at a time and working versus the LUT mapping. So I'm going to take that one out as well for me. And let's now work with this filter set this way. I'm going to collapse all things. Now see, I have my own set that I've just made. I can save this by just going up here to custom workspace and then save a new workspace. Call it anything you want. Use your initials, whatever you want to call that. That could be your specific portrait workspace. So every time you do a portrait, you have all your filters set. You can go in there and start making it come to life.
Matthew?
Simple as that. Yes.
I'm going to cut in because we do have some questions. And
Oh,
I think
great.
this is also a good opportunity because you have created not only some workspaces for us, but also some presets that you use when you do processing. Those are free presets that are available if they go to the skylum.com/Luminar/marketplace. So Lori will put that link up. But it's kind of nice because here we're hearing how you think, but you actually gave us the privilege of using some of the tricks that you do. And I figure while we have about 10 minutes left, there were some questions, if you don't mind, that I could throw at you. Good
Yes.
with that?
Rock and roll.
One of the first questions was in reference to your 5 things, and that was in reference to posing.
Yes.
And so a lot of times when you work with models, work with professionals, they strike a pose and then they freeze, or else they continually strike a pose and move, pose, move, pose. How do you break them of that to get that fluidity that you do in your photographs?
Oh, that's a great question. And you're right. Normally, if you're working with a model, they do have it's almost like a muscle memory where they go into their set of poses. And this is a great exercise for you to do the next time you're shooting. Instead, people they're in a flow. They get used to people shooting a certain way and they're shooting click, 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 and it gives them a moment to pose. They're almost timing as you shoot because they have their standard way of shooting. So when you get that situation, number one, you should communicate, okay, I don't want to pose. Then number two, you've got to give them an action so it breaks them out of their pose. And this is how I do that. I start shooting really fast. So they don't have time to pose. Now, at first, I'm doing this just to break them out of that system that they're in the habit of doing. Once you start doing this, it breaks them of that system of posing where they don't have a time to pose, and then they forget about it. And then you can go back to your shooting in your normal rhythm. That's how you break them of that pattern of posing. Great question. Thank you for that one.
Yeah,
Because I get that all the time.
it's so what's interesting is that you mentioned you shot some of these under constant light versus strobe, so you don't have to wait for that recharge, and then they wait for that recharge. Do you find that shooting under constant light versus strobes allow you that flexibility to shoot faster and be more fluid?
Yes, yes, it does. But also, I mean, today it's changed so much. Now, even lighting has become so advanced. So I do believe in using the best gear, the best cameras, best lights. I use Nikon. I use Pro Photo. The the recycle time on Pro Photo gear is absolutely amazing. If you're using, like for example, I shot you with a D1. It's extremely fast recycle time. I can shoot like click, 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 and break them of that cycle. And as a matter of fact, the model who I shot, this girl actually in this image, um, she was actually posing, and this is exactly what I did yesterday to break her of this pattern of posing. So that's a great question. It's right on time, and we all go through that all the time. Thanks for that question.
Excellent. Another one, a person actually had, again, back to your shooting styles. I guess it's modifiers, and you had indicated you had some of the flats and the light.
Yes.
One of the question was, do you use snoots, and what other modifiers do you use in the studio?
Oh wow, that's a great question because I am a big advocate of using different types of light. So I have my favorites for sure. I use a beauty dish a lot. I use a magnum reflector a lot. I'm a big advocate of using grids. As a matter of fact, for the shot yesterday, I was using a grid for there's two lights on this set, so one had a grid on it. So yeah, I'm using grids and modifiers all the time. What I don't use though, and people are always shocked by this, is soft boxes. And the reason why I don't use a softbox is because it is probably the number one modifier in the world. Most people have a softbox. But if you're doing what everybody else does, how do you stand out?
That's a very good point. Do you, when you're shooting outside, have a preference? Do you like to shoot early light, golden hour, middle of the day, when you have control, I guess, of when you get to shoot?
I definitely have my favorite. I am in love with that morning light and the evening light. Um, when I think back about one of my first location jobs, I shot Tyra's first swimsuit calendar. So we go to Jamaica, and I said, okay, I only want to shoot during these times of day, early morning and evening. So we get up at like, 3 in the morning to do hair and makeup. And we're out, shooting by, 4:30, and we're waiting for the sun to get that first ray of light. And we shoot from like, sunrise until like maybe like 10. Then we break all day long, go to get to the next location, refresh the makeup, and shoot again from like that afternoon of like, 3:30 until like the end of the day to get that evening light. And that was the system for like, a 10-day shoot. I love that evening light. But there are also times when you have to create your light any time of day. So you've got to learn how to, block the sun and then make your light. So I'm doing that a lot. I love shooting on location as well. It's a lot of fun.
What are your favorite lenses? I know you said you were shooting with a 105, but yeah, some of your portrait lenses and macro. Do you have ones that you prefer to use over others?
Oh, yes, I do. Absolutely. Um, that 105 and 85 are probably my go-to lenses almost on every single shoot. Now I've got every lens, and I like prime lenses because primes are always sharper. Now, there are amazing zooms out there, but they will never be as sharp as a prime lens because primes are just with the way optics are made. Primes are always going to be sharper. So I love shooting my prime lenses. That 105 and that 85 are both incredible glass.
Excellent. And you said you generally like to use a really shallow depth of field. So you're shooting what, 1.4, 1.8? Does it
Yes, I'm
vary?
using 1.4. I'm shooting 2.8. I'm shooting at 4. Um, I was out shooting in the street the other day. Yes, I shoot street photography as well. I do that a lot in Tokyo. And there's a busy corner. It's probably the busiest corner in the world. It's called Shibuya Crossing, where every day there's like, millions of people crossing the street. And I shoot there a lot. A lot of photographers do actually, but I'm always experimenting by shooting at f2 in this crowded area and finding one person in the crowd to make them stand out. And I love shooting like that. And with that lens, I can do it. It's so sharp. That 105. Oh,
Great advice. Another question, you had mentioned light meters, and some people have wanted you to go a little bit deeper in that. Are you using them for like light ratios? How do you actually leverage the knowledge you get from the light meter into not composing, but into setting up your camera settings?
wonderful, wonderful question. I can talk for hours just about that
Second
alone.
hour, yes.
Exactly. So the high end meters do let you do ratios. Like I'm using Sekonic meters, and people always say, "Oh, but Matthew, those meters are so expensive," and I get that. Now the top of the line meters are like the top of the line Sekonic meters around like $800, but you can just get a entry level meter, and still it's going to help you and give you more information than you will get by just using histograms alone. It shows you where the light is and where it isn't. Now, in terms of my ratios, I can go through and read each light separately. So let's say you have the lower end meter, the entry level meter. You can still go through one by one and meter each light, so you know exactly what your main light is reading, what your back light is reading, what your kicker light is reading. You can do all those ratios one by one. Now, the top end meter will do it for you very easily, but I do think it's important that you learn how to do it on your own first, manually, before the meter does it for you. But you can go anywhere you want with that because the meters can do anything. The top of the line meters can read flash duration, and you start seeing the difference between a low end strobe and the high end photo strobes. You'll see that huge difference. You can also read the color temperature to see, what temperature your strobe is reading. Are they consistent? All that stuff makes a big difference. Sometimes your pictures aren't consistent in exposure because your strobes aren't consistent. The lower end strobes are not consistent output, image after image after image. The high end strobes, by the top manufacturers, they are consistent. Your first image versus your thousandth image, they're all consistent. So you want to save time on the back end trying to fix all your images. You don't have to worry about that because every image is consistent. I don't want to be stuck at my computer going through image by image trying to correct them and make the first image and the 100th image all match. When you have a light meter, it makes your time easier and you spend less time in front of your computer and do what you start loving. For me, that's taking pictures.
It sounds like that if you were given one recommendation, buy less gear and better gear. So instead of having lots of,
Absolutely.
yeah, get the good stuff and learn to use it.
Yes, yes, indeed.
And then I guess the last question as we close out, and then I'll give you a chance to kind of wrap it up for us, is when you're working on an image for smoothing skin in Luminar, we're curious how you do that. Do you use the structure and use a negative structure, I guess, to soften the skin?
I do. I use awful soft focus, and I use the dodge and burn. It's a combination of all those together, and it's all just very slight. So it's not going like to 100 on everything. I'm just doing it little by little and doing this little small back and forth, like you did in the dark when you're dodging and burning, just little by little to make those small changes.
I think one of the things that make your photos stand out is that the people actually have texture on their skin, and that a lot of times folks will soften the skin so much that you lose the fact that this is a real person. And I think that's one of the things when we look at every one of your images, we kind of feel that we know that person. We kind of feel that person is tactile, that we can almost reach out and touch them. And I think that's one of the beauties of not only how you capture these people's personalities, but even in the post, that you don't go overboard turning them into pieces of plastic. So
That's right, absolutely. And people do go way too far on it. But what happens when you have your own system, and you can save that system over and over again, like you have your own workspace, you can make it exact where you have just, even you can make your own preset if you want to, even to have your own exact look, so every picture feels just right. That's how it happens.
Well, Matthew, this has been an amazing presentation. I've been shooting as long as you, and I've walked away with some great tips. And I'm sure that the folks listening in on the webinar are all ready to race outside and start shooting pictures. And in some cases, I think it's the middle of the night where they are. But that was, we're all just like that picture you showed at the beginning of the guy giving the fist and excited. Thank you so much for just letting us into the way you work and looking at some of your images. And for those of us that are going to be at WPPI, what a great opportunity to be able to see you in person there. So with
I'm
that,
looking forward to seeing everybody.
It's awesome. I want to thank you, and I'm going to hand it back to Lori to close out.
That was a delight. We had some really nice comments, Matthew. I wanted to share just a couple with you. One gentleman said, "The voice of passion." Thank you, Matthew. And another comment was, "The best webinar ever." So we want to really, really thank you for sharing your wisdom and knowledge, and most of all, your passion. You got everybody excited and ready to get their cameras going again. So thank you again. And thank you, Abba, for hosting this great webinar.